border. So they are on duty right now. We are planning for that number to grow. We are planning to raise that number on a weekly basis until we're either told that's enough or to continue to bring troops on.
All right, let's bring in the Texas governor, Governor Greg Abbott. Thank you for coming in.
Honored to be here with you. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Well, more National Guard troops are heading down to your state on the border. What is your role in all of this?
Well, of course, the way this works is that the governors are in charge of the National Guard. And so even the way this is structured right now, the governors will remain in charge of the National Guard in our states. And so we work in conjunction with the president, with the Homeland Security to make sure this is all working seamlessly. But listen, this is nothing new. This is something that was done under President Bush, under President Obama. And I got to tell you, the people of Texas are very appreciative that the President of the United States has recognized this is a problem. He made a commitment when he ran for president, and he's been adamant that he wanted to do everything he can to secure the border. Texas wants to ensure that we secure the border, and you need to understand there's a mathematical need for this because the people coming across the border have increased dramatically, more than 200% month on month in the month of March of what it was the year before. What we've seen in the past is when we do add these National Guard, it has a meaningful impact in reducing the flow of people coming across the border. And let me tell you why, because this is something that has not been discussed. What is going on is people don't just happen to come into the United States. They get here by the drug cartels and by the coyotes who bring them across. Every time that we've increased the forces on the ground, there's been a decrease of the cartel activity, of the coyote activity, because they realize they're going to be losing money. Part of our job is to put these cartels and put these coyotes out of business. Sure. And whenever we're able to ramp up the support on the ground, it puts them out of business, and it's going to make the border a far more secure place.
Well, not only has the president ordered up to 4,000 members of the National Guard on our southern border, but over the weekend he signed an executive order ending catch and release. So the magnet is turned off.
Right. And that was so important. Again, another smart move by the president, ditching failed policies of the past. If people think they can come across the border and they're just going to be caught and released and maybe never have to show back up for judicial proceedings, or if they do, it's going to be a half a decade later. It's going to be something where they get to stay here forever. So this is signaling to people who are crisscrossing Mexico, coming from Central America, coming from other places around the country, that this is the wrong thing to do. And I got to tell you one very important thing here, and that is people need to understand that it has been reported by Amnesty International, not a conservative bastion. They came out and said that about 6 in 10 of women and children who have to crisscross all the way across Mexico from Central America are going to be sexually assaulted or subject to sexual abuse.
When the president said that last week, he took a lot of heat for that.
And it's very important for people to understand there are objective studies out there. Go look at Amnesty International that did a report that was, they wrote up a report that was done in Mexico. See, the problem is because this information comes from the people who are trafficked across Mexico. These studies are not conducted by people here in the United States. But just look at what Amnesty International has written about it, and they're trying to provide warnings to the people coming across Mexico, because anyone trying to attract these people, they're putting these children and these women in harm's way.
So if I was to give you all the money you want to build as much wall as you want, how many miles do you need? And is there a plan to increase the beds? Because with no more catch and release, you need a place to hold them.
Well, you're exactly right. There is more need for beds because without catch and release, we're going to have people there. And the other thing that we got to do that I know that the president's working on, that I know that the Secretary of Homeland Security is working on, is trying to expedite this process. And part of that may have to require changing the law. Part
Need more judges?
Yeah, more judges. But we got to be able to process.
Do you know how many miles? How many miles of wall, roughly? What do you need?
Well, here's the deal that everyone has begun to recognize, and that is the different topographies, different regions of the United States are more accommodative of the wall than others. There's a serpentine fashion. I think you've seen the Rio Grande River in the state of Texas, and then there's a big national park out there with mountains and river, and so it's been recognized there are certain regions where it's going to be more difficult than others to place a wall, and that's precisely why we need more more assets on the ground, and some of the assets will be, because of the National Guard, doing functions that the Border Patrol is currently doing, which is not being on the front lines. We will now have more frontline Border Patrol patrolling the regions, keeping it safe, making sure we're going to be able to have the boots on the ground as well as the technology and the assets on the ground. This is going to be a virtual and personnel wall to make sure that the country is going to be more secure at this time when we've had more than a 200% increase in the number of people who are coming across the border without authority.
But the guardsmen are going to not be able to do as much, right?
Well, listen, the way this works is that the guardsmen will not be armed on the border. The guardsmen will be doing the functions that the Border Patrol have been doing when the Border Patrol have not been on the guard. Let me give you a couple of examples, and that is there will be air patrol. It now can be the National Guard as opposed to the Border Patrol doing their air patrol. There will be lookouts, people with eyes on the ground watching what's coming in. It can be the National Guard performing that function as opposed to the Border Patrol.
Right.
This is going to free up more Border Patrol to engage in the apprehension and arrest of the people who are coming across the border.
That makes sense. All right, Governor, thank you so much for coming in and explaining all this to us.
Of course.
Good to have you in New York.
All right.
It's good to be here.
Thanks, Governor. Meanwhile, it's good to have Jillian full time.
Good morning to you guys. It's great to be here full time. Thank you very much. Forget gun control. London's mayor is now going after knives. Sadiq Khan responding to an upswing in stabbings, tweeting, quote, "There is never a reason to carry a knife," adding that anyone caught with one will feel the full force of the law. London has already seen 50 homicides this year, mostly by stabbing. A teenager caught on dash cam leading police on a wild chase in a school bus. The 15-year-old swerving across the Texas roadway before crashing and coming to a stop. The bus, stolen from an auto repair shop, belongs to a church, but the pastor says he forgives the teen and will not press charges. How about this story? It must have flown through the window and into my purse. That's the excuse police say this woman gave them after being busted with cocaine. Kennesia Posey blaming the drugs on a windy day when she was questioned during a traffic stop in Florida. The cops, though, didn't buy it.
Right. I buy that.
Okay.
I totally believe it.
Logical.
It makes total sense.
All right, Jillian, thank you.
Speaking of the wind,
Right.
That's right.
Brian
Janice,
always does these awkward tosses.
They're not awkward.
Janice is back. She's been on vacation, and it's great to have you.
Yes, they are awkward, Brian Kilmeade. Let's take a. Where are you guys? Tell me where you're from. What's your names?
I'm Ron. I'm from Plover, Wisconsin.